Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've made it about to a midway point, not halfway point, but midway. So let's get started. Kicking this off, we've got Miles Morales Spider-Man number 6. So where we left off in Carnage Reigns. Miles showed up at the diner that Carnage had taken over, and did what he could to try and to save anyone he could. However, Agent Gao showed up as well with her. I don't know how we have to describe, but her anti-cape enforcement detail, which included Scorpion. Scorpion, Carnage, and Miles ended up in a battle on the roof of the building. Miles hit Carnage with a Venom blast, which wreaked some havoc on the arc reactor that Carnage is a part of the symbiote Carnage is currently wearing, which basically blew up the building. So we open up with Miles making a journal entry. His journal survived the Rabble's attack on his family's home, and he's put a bit more effort into his schoolwork after the whole thing with Rabble. Kind of, while not entirely agreeing with everything, but at the same time, not entirely agreeing with Rabble's standpoint. He does at least see her point, and so he wants to make sure that his at Brooklyn Visions means something. Things with Tiana appear to be better, and he's constantly he's basically working with Misty Knight. We get a rundown of the last couple parts of Carnage Reigns. And yeah, the building has fallen down around Scorpion and Miles. Miles gets them out of there, though Scorpion's being a jerk, because, well, Scorpion. But they find some survivors underneath in the rubble, and Scorpion's not exactly trusting of them because, well, Carnage already pulled I'm totally sort of an innocent bystander. Not on them once, so I can't entirely fault Scorpion on that one. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, Gao is trying to figure out what's going on, and well, yeah. Gao has called in the backup. But Miles has a plan to get everyone out of there. It seems to work. And but Agent Gao is like, yep, we're arresting Spider-Man. Though Scorpion kind of sort of sticks up for him a little bit, but also Scorpion's paranoia about survivors in the building is proved somewhat right, as one of the survivors they found was Carnage. He attacks, but the backup arrives. Electro, Taskmaster, and Hightail call themselves the Cape Killers. Can't let a good name go to waste, right? But Carnage manages to escape to the Spire with Kenneth Neely. And as that, well, Kenneth asks why hide? Carnage states that every wound is something new to teach you. Like how Miles had a number on the new body. So Carnage says he's going to pay with buckets of blood. But first, whatever he did is messing with the suit. So he's going to sort it out. And when he does, the whole town's going to remember what it's like to have Carnage's claws around his throat. And that is where the issue ends. I'm liking this Carnage Reigns crossover. And especially, one thing that is nice to see also is the little things like I think it was in the last month's issue, in the earlier issue of Carnage, Agent Gao having a flashback to having been involved in Maximum Carnage, which she also mentions in this issue. Moving on though to our next book, we've got Red Goblin number 4. Where we left off, Red Goblin had saved Norman Osborn from the Goblin Nation. Young Normie's life, however, is still pretty well turned upside down. So, at Oscorp HQ in Midtown, security guard named Gary's getting off. And as he does so, he enters the room where the Gold Goblin armor and paraphernalia are kept. Meanwhile, Normie is spending the day with his grandfather. Mom's out of town. But Norman threw a pumpkin bomb at Normie, which causes Rascal to react and take over and catch the bomb. It's empty, but Rascal, still in control, attacks Norman. Turns out that Gary is in debt, and back with the security guards going after the Gold Goblin stuff. Apparently, dude's in debt to Hammerhead. Great with gizmos and doohickeys, but guy's supposed to give it a little work. But Normie manages to reel in Rascal, and Norman explains that they're going to separate the two of them in a sonic chamber. Normie's trying to talk him out of it, kind of saying, "Hey, look, there are no bad dogs, just bad owners." But Rascal is separated from Normie, and Norman pulls Normie out of the device and decides that he's going to kill Rascal, though Normie protests, obviously. However, security guard Gary knocks out power to the whole building so he can basically to keep security systems turned off, which causes Rascal to get loose and attack Norman once again. Norman calls the Gold Goblin the glider to him, though Gary is on the glider and wearing the armor. But Gary and Normie have a bit of a standoff, but soon enough, Rascal realizes something's up with Normie and briefly takes over Norman to get up there and saves Normie. Norman has a chat with his grandfather about Rascal and adding that sinister mirrors. They take their cues from their hosts. Rascal may have heard the Goblin creeps down in the sewer, but he did it to protect Normie. So he's going to return the favor and protect Rascal from Norman, who threatens to tell Normie's mother, but to which Normie says, "Go ahead." But maybe you should leave out the part where you put where Norman put Normie in a dangerous sonic apparatus. Gary is apprehended by the other members of security, and they are ordered to basically want to know, okay, who tried to steal the gold goblet stuff, and that Gary should be happy that it's not Norman asking the questions. And that is where the issue ends. This was on pretty much from the first issue. This was definitely an issue that was going to happen and needed to happen. That was being Norman and Normie discussing Normie's new friend. Of course, as we saw in Cult of Carnage Misery, symbiotes kind of running the family at this point. Moving on, though, to our next book, we've got Venom, number 19. And yes, that is Golden Age hero Flexo on the cover. He's barely in the issue. Sorry, spoilers. So, where we left off. Oh, yeah. Dylan's trying to get a handle on everything about being Venom. But he goes to visit Normie. Hey, him and Normie can suit up, and the two of them can go around doing superhero stuff. Though Normie's grounded. And while his mom, stepdad, and brother are out of town, well, Pop's watching him. Yeah, Norman Osborn. So Dylan unvenoms, and he explains to Norman that they're in civics class together, and they're doing a report. They're learning about ethics, which Dylan asks Mr. Osborn if he knows what ethics are. And Norman makes dinner for the three of them. But some news pops up. Apparently the costume criminal Slide is loose in Midtown Manhattan. And so Norman decides to suit up and take care of it. And, well, Venom decides to take care of him. So Slide is apparently live streaming his heist. It manages to evade the NYPD, but not Norman Osborn, who a new adhesive from Oscorp, which manages to even get by Slide's non-stick coating, apparently outperforming Spider-Man's web fluid. But Gold Goblin's attacked by Venom. They duke it out. And Norman doesn't really fight back. Though Norman does point out that this is clearly not either Venom or Flash Thompson, or Eddie Brock or Flash Thompson. So clearly, though, as Venom's attacking him, it must be someone that Norman hurt. But Dylan reels Venom in. And swings off, though apparently Slide has managed to escape. However, under the city, a line feeding that liquid nitrogen into a containment cylinder has been broken. And out of that cylinder, Flexo is released. And that is where the issue ends. Like I said, Flexo's hardly in the issue, but, you know, he's coming. I think Flexo's actually a really neat idea. This was a good issue. This was a solid issue. I actually kind of like the whole Spider-Man adjacent characters somewhat taking shots at Norman Osborn, and very much kind of thinking of it, yeah, you did horrible things, and now you're trying to redeem yourself. Now you're just trying to rebrand, change the branding of Green Goblin to something more positive. And in Dylan's case, I think it's more a case of just not knowing what happened during what's recently happened with Norman Osborn, and the fact that I think I'm enjoying Norman's redemption arc, and it feels right, especially with the fact that he has a conscience now. It's like, yes, all the things he's done are washed away, but he still remembers doing them. In a metaphysical way that was made physical somehow by the Beyond Corporation, yeah. But he knows he did them, and he's having to kind of deal with a lot of that, which is something he needed to do. But anyway, moving on though to our last book for the moment, we've got Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis number 3. Where we left off, Halloween Jack and Carnage of 2099 were getting all of the the regular people of Nueva York good and riled up against anyone with, I would say, a gold card or higher. We open with a private conference server, a meeting between 3 of the Alchemax hires up and their fixer. Who suggests that they send Gallows. Untested, yes, and violent, but what other language does Carnage understand? So Halloween Jack and Carnage are riling up the crowd. And Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, and Blade are looking on. Do what they can to save a few people from Carnage. But an unseen ally, Flipside, attacks Spider-Man, Blade goes after Carnage, and Halloween Jack goes after Spider-Woman, using xenophobia to turn the crowd against her. And also, because Spider-Man's working with her, Spider-Man. Elsewhere, Venom and Moon Knight have just dealt with a couple of members of the public eye, and Moon Knight prevents Venom from further harming them. But the two of them, as well as the public eye members, are attacked from above by an unseen attacker, who appears to be answering to command. Spidey manages to get rid of Flipside temporarily off him, with Moon Knight pulling him back once again as Moon Knight and Venom enter. Flipside attempts to, chow down on Moon Knight, but Moon Knight being a walking corpse basically makes it a little hard. Our heroes are attempting to do what they can to actually pull off their plan, though Carnage has been rather gravely injured by Blade and absorbs the blood from his hive, but also seemingly making them even more feral in the process. And that is where the issue ends. Interesting story. It's going to be interesting to see we don't actually get to see Punisher, or Gallows in this case, but it'll be interesting to see how. I'm assuming that that's how that what we see on the cover is how he's going to look, but does appear that he's under Ockmax's control. And that is going to do it for now. First off, I'd like to provide special thanks to Patreon patron Xander Lee. Thank you for your support of this channel. Links to the giveaway launch video, as well as my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.